Greetings and welcome to the 1/6 Scale Man proudly presents another episode of The Corner. I am so happy to do this particular video in particular because I love this topic. This is a topic I've been wanting to do for the longest time, especially with the recent release of The Empire Strikes Back Vader. That's what I'm talking about, which some will actually perceivably say it is the definitive Vader for them. So again, we're going to go over that. What is definitive? What is the definitive Vader? There's three Vaders out of the many Vaders that we could choose. There are three Vaders that are the topic of choice right now. That is the Empire Strikes Back Vader, of course. We have the Obi-Wan Vader, which was a hit pretty much the entire summer. A lot of people are still waiting on it. I don't know if they've gotten it. But again, it is and could have been perceived at that time to be the definitive Vader. But then the most recent introduction was a revealed Mythos Vader that we actually got from the Legends line. That one, some people would actually say is the definitive. So we're going to have that discussion here because I think it is worth having that conversation about here on this particular video. Do me a favor, hit that like button if you haven't already, like this tells you to do. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification so you are always up to date on when we will be releasing so many videos or such videos like this one right here. If we're going to do a short, whatever it may be, you are in there now and you are ready for it because I'm telling you, I am so excited about this one right here. You know, we do our live shows whenever there's a new release, but I just said, you know what, let me do a few videos. I don't do videos often, but I wanted to do one now because I thought this was worth having a conversation about. Now, before we actually jump into the topic, you know what I do. You know what time it is. Every time I do these videos, I got to pay homage to the places where I get these figures from, starting off with Underground Figures, my man Ray over there at Underground Figures. Make sure that when you visit his site, you sign up for the newsletter because you are always up to date on when your figure is going to release, new figures that are actually set to release, reasonably priced when it comes to shipping and handling, no NRD. Ray is always on point when your figure is going to actually come. He keeps you in the now, and on top of that, full transparency, he will respond to any email you'll actually send him. Ray is such an incredible guy. I've been dealing with him now for like 7 years. An incredible guy, and I will continue to do so. But you know, this is always the tale of two Rays because there's always two individuals that have actually presented us, and their names happen to be Ray. I want to actually give a shout out to my man Ray over there at Hawk Wars Toys. I call him Hawk Wars Ray. You get a nice little care package. Not only do you get the figure that you're looking for, you get a sticker, comic book to boot, full package, reasonably priced when it comes to shipping and handling. Ray will always take care of you because that's what he does. You want to give him a shout out whenever you head on over there. Tell him I sent you. He got those grails, everything that you actually need, especially if you want to get those figures that you probably couldn't get your hands on earlier on. Hit him up. He'll definitely take care of you. Also want to give a shout out to my man Watch His Sixth over there at Comic Relief Comic Collectibles. If you're looking for those comic books, he got them. 10 scales, 12 scale, quarter scale, 1/6 scale. He got it for you. Just hit him up. Tell him I sent you. He'll definitely take care of you. But mainly comics. Support your local brick and mortar. I'm telling you, physical releases, physical copies is always a plus. It's good to have that paper in your hands when you're basically doing your, comic searches. And when you want to actually just go and get source material, definitely head on over there. He'll take care of you. And last, but certainly not least, I want to give a shout out to my man, Brian Wong over there at Module Space. Now I got this mono in. I just got this mono like a couple weeks ago. I put it together. This is an incredible piece. I cannot say it enough. It is phenomenal. It's a piece that you definitely want to have in your collection, especially if you want an alternative to the Detolfs. We know that the Detolfs have gone up in price, and since that, you want to have something that's going to be more, that's going to be worth it. So not only do you get the actual case itself, but you get the LED lighting. You get your choice of white or black background. It's very light. And on top of that, adjustable shelving units. It is on point. The mono is where you need to go if you are looking for something that's incredible, man. And I'm telling you, it is definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. But yeah, just wanted to kind of actually talk about that real quick. How you guys doing? I'm so glad to have you guys here with me because this is a very important video. Now, here's again. We talk about definitive. Now, that's the question. Definitive. What is the definitive Vader? Okay. Now, me, myself, I started out with my Sideshow Vader. I got that years ago when I started collecting back in 2015. It was the first Vader that I actually got in my collection. After that, I moved on. I got the Tarkin and Vader 2-pack from Rogue One at that particular time. So that was my second Vader. Then there was the Vader Deluxe that we actually got. I think it was the deluxe version. I think it was the Empire Strikes Back version, the Return of the Jedi version, one of them. Empire. It was Empire Strikes Back version of the figure itself. So I got that one. It was incredible. Then we got the notification of the Obi-Wan Vader that was going to be dropping again from the show Obi-Wan. And that one again was a marquee. That was the Hayden Christensen head sculpt that you can actually see, and it came with the split battle damaged version of Vader, and a lot of people basically love that one. And again, like throughout the times, we have seen, okay, what is the conversation? What is the definitive Vader? What do you see? What do you call the definitive Vader? And I think it's basically left up to interpretation. All things subjective. Not, it's no right or wrong way, but I think it's more so what's going to be definitive to you. And it's a conversation to be had. We then got the notification of the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. And what do we got? Voila. It is the Sebastian Shaw head sculpt version with the light up head sculpt. Again, if you don't already know, you know. If you know, you know. If you don't know, go back and check out and get some history on that. But definitely it is from the Return of the Jedi, infamous scene when Vader sacrificed himself for his son and took on majority of the lightning, the Force lightning, from at that time his master, Emperor Palpatine, or Darth Sidious to some. But definitely that became, and it was in the zeitgeist of the discussion as to definitive. Now, we just recently got the release of that figure, and it's already getting praise, and the praises were sung throughout the community, collecting community it is. But just recently, a couple months back, we got the reveal of the Legends version of Vader from Force Unleashed video game. Now, again, if you're not familiar with that, of course, we're talking about Star Killer, an apprentice of Vader back then. And we know their infamous battle at that particular point that left Vader damaged from head to toe. It was definitely a worthy fight, but it's Vader, so it is what it is. But again, that one was perceived as the definitive Vader. Now, we're going to talk about these because, again, I think it's definitely worth talking about in the ones that we want to kind of mention here. But what I want to start with, first and foremost, I think it's worth starting with the one that we actually got previously before the other two were, definitely released. And we're going to talk about this first and foremost. I think the one that's worth talking about first, since we want to kind of go into this discussion here, would definitely be Vader from Obi-Wan. Now, this is basically the Vader from Obi-Wan, one that I think and I would deem worth discussing because it was definitely the one that when people were talking about what was the definitive Vader at that time, this was the one that, most of the conversations were surrounding. Now, of course, you have that split battle damaged head sculpt, which was one that was enticing about the actual figure. People that were going for this particular version wanted this one right here because it had that Hayden Christensen split head, damaged facial sculpt that was actually in there as well. And it was so unique. It was extremely unique. And we didn't know that we were going to get this battle. It was a battle that we didn't know we would ever need. And from it, we got an incredible figure. So this was one that I know a lot of people were definitely going after. They wanted to definitely have in their collection. It was mostly talked about. I have it. And I honestly can say that with this particular version of Vader, having the battle damaged chest plate, the battle damaged helmet, again, we know that this was an incredible, but I think it was the best sequence of the show itself when we saw both Obi-Wan and Vader going at it. It was something that, you know, it was, again, undescribable. But again, we didn't know that there was going to be a rematch. We didn't know that they were going to kind of go back and retcon the conversation that Vader had with Obi-Wan before he actually killed him. You know what it was. When I last met you, I was a pupil. Now I am the master. That's what basically he said in A New Hope. So again, we got this version. We didn't know we were going to need it, but you know, we were so glad at that time that we got it. It was such, and it is such an incredible figure to have in your collection. It was definitely worth it. And we're glad that we actually got it, right? So could this one be perceived as the definitive? Well, again, that's left up to interpretation. A lot of people would say it is because it was the one that they wanted. Now, I have this version. I actually have him on the throne. It's Vader on the throne. Shout out to my man Ty over there at Uncommon Flex for blessing me with that piece, because it was definitely so phenomenal, such a phenomenal piece to definitely have in my collection. I was so happy that I actually got it. But again, this Vader is incredible. I don't know, this thing always wants to mess up, but we're going to actually make it work. But it's such, and look at that head sculpt. It is incredible. This was definitely an incredible assortment to actually have in your collection. If you have it, it is an important staple. Now, mine, I didn't put the battle damage head sculpt on it, even though I have it. I might swap it out every now and then, but I decided not to. But at the time, the conversation was, this was the definitive Vader. This was the one that basically had for a lot of people because they love the features and what came with it. LED light up saber, LED light up features, and that's LED USB light up features for both the helmet, the chest plate, the belt, everything that you actually got, and or not the helmet, I'm sorry, but more so the saber itself. So again, you saw some, you know, improvements on what we got from the previous iterations. Moving on, though, then most recently, we have to talk about this one because it's definitely worth talking about. And this one is the Return of the Jedi Vader. This one right here is Sebastian Shaw. Now, again, it was such a delight to finally have this figure in our display because it was one that we have been waiting on for the longest time, especially if you are an OT fan, original trilogy fan. It's crazy because y'all can't see it, but right now I got Return of the Jedi on. I just need to create the ambience, but definitely this was one that was worth talking about. This was the one that people had been wanting for the longest time. That we have this particular version first in quarter scale. There was a quarter scale version released of this, and it's this now a shrunken down version, 1/6 scale version of this particular figure. We never knew we were going to get it, but once we got it, we were so happy to have it. Again, tailored with the Sebastian Shaw head sculpt that does have the purrs in it. Shout out to the people who corrected me earlier this week. It does actually have the purrs in it. Light up features, LED features for the chest plate, and it blinks back and forth. This is the deluxe version, so you get the stairs. This also comes with the light up feature for the head sculpt. Now, a lot of people, if you don't know, now you know. This is when he basically sacrificed himself for his son after their battle, which he lost his right hand again, mechanical hand itself. But yes, this was one that I know a lot of people have been waiting on. You get that light up LED feature. Again, such an iconic scene, such an iconic figure. To have this in your collection is definitely a must, especially if you are a Return of the Jedi enthusiast. If you are a fan of the IP, this is definitely worth it. It is the figure that you want to actually have in your collection. And I think they did such a good job translating his likeness in such a small scale. And again, it was the 40th anniversary of this figure itself. So it's definitely worth having. If you don't already have it in your collection, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know if it's one definitely you do not want to miss out on. It's one you want to have. But the question is this the definitive Vader for you? Now, we're going to get back to that in just a few moments because there's one more that's on the list. Out of the three, there's one more that is currently on the list and that is worth talking about. This one right here, people were excited about because, again, Hot Toys, y'all did it again. Y'all came and gave us something that was completely incredible, out of the blue, unexpected. But you know what? It is always the unexpected that just pushes the needle forward. And I'm so glad that you did this. This, in fact, is the Darth Vader Battle Damage Deluxe version. Now, this is the Legends. Again, it falls within that Legends line. Now, this right here is incredible because you get a sculpted cape, right? So you get the sculpted cape that kind of mirrors Vader's helmet if you look really close. So this is definitely an attachment. Battle damage all over, through and through. You know, more exposed facial structure. Battle damage charred helmet. Battle damage charred suit. You get to see his exposed leg, his arm. He's on an actual platform, so that's incredible. Look at this piece right here, man. Look at this piece right here. Come on. You get this particular Vader. Again, you get the Hayden Christensen likeness. And this time, you don't just get like just a side profile of it. Now you get the whole thing. You get a battle damage version of the helmet itself. So you just get like a fractured piece, but then you get the entire head sculpt of Anakin. Look at this, man. And it's a DX. So, of course, LED light up features when it comes to the blade, when it comes to the chest plate, when it comes to his belt. But again, and you get that display base on that rotating base. This looks phenomenal. But the price of admission, I have to say, is that head sculpt. It is definitely that Hayden Christensen head sculpt. This is phenomenal. And for a while, and again, this has been, the contender. This is a contender. Look at that. A contender for the definitive Vader in other people's eye, right? So this is where the discussion comes into play. What is the definitive Vader for you, right? Because this looks good, you know what I mean? It gives you everything that you basically need, you know, fully articulated, chart. But again, is it the definitive Vader? Because again, we throw that word around, definitive versus, you know, rail piece, whatever you want to say, but what's definitive? And again, I got to go back and say that it basically depends on your interpretation. What do you think works for you? It's not going to work for everybody, but it's more so what works for you, you know, when it comes to this particular figure. But for me, it's tough, man. It's tough. It is definitely tough because, like I said, Hot Toys is definitely coming with it when it comes to Vader. And I guess one of the biggest questions is there enough? You know, can you ever have enough Vaders? And in my opinion, hell no. You can have all the damn Vaders that you want, and I think it's worth it because every last one of them, it's its own interpretation. It fits its own space in the lore itself. So again, you know, Vader is a story within itself. He is such a strong character, strong present, you know, is the most iconic villain of all time. I don't care what anybody says. Vader's marquee. He is up there, number one, numero uno, and hasn't been dethroned yet. Vader is still the most iconic villain of all time, with such a tragic story that will be told, especially with Anakin, his dissension from the light to the dark, and then back again, still balancing out the Force, and now himself came back to the light to help Ahsoka, so which we already know, and I can't wait to see more of him. But this right here is an incredible piece. It is phenomenal. I mean, I cannot wait. I have this on pre-order as well. I'm never passing this up. But the question is, and it always goes down to this: what is the definitive Vader to you? That's the question. What is the definitive Vader for you? What do you basically think is that piece, is that Vader that you want to have in your collection? What is the one that speaks volumes more so for you when it comes to collecting? Now, I think about it this way. OT, right? OT has always been my thing. You know, when I started, look, 50 years old. I'll be 51 this year, 2 months. Shout out to the old heads of my genre. But listen, I went to the theaters in 1977 for the very first time and I saw The New Hope. Well, actually, back then it was Star Wars. Changed my life. Completely changed my life. A few years later, went to go see Empire Strikes Back. The saga continued. Then in 82 or 83, we got Return of the Jedi. So again, following on, we got different interpretations. And there, again, when I say different interpretations, over the years, Vader's helmet has changed. His helmet, his suit, there's been certain augmentations to kind of make Vader a tad bit different. He's too iconic. So again, There's the new wave individuals, people that have collected, people that were born after my generation that will probably see Vader totally different from me. So when we say definitive, you can't take my word as gospel, because it's up to you and it's up to your interpretation of what you basically think is the definitive version. But if I had to choose, in my humble opinion, if I had to choose what I thought was the definitive Vader for me, then it would definitely have to be this guy right here. This one right here, and hands down, I would have to say is the definitive version for me. And that's just mainly for me. I can't speak for everybody else, but for me it is, because again, we have not yet gotten a Sebastian Shaw head sculpt, and this is definitely the one that I wanted. Because again, I love the interpretation, the representation of Vader, one that I've always, and that I don't have in my collection, and to have this at 1/6 scale, I am so excited to have this version of Vader. So for me, and for me only, I can only say that it is the definitive version for me. It's not going to be the same way for everybody else, but it will be the definitive interpretation for me. And I say that specifically because again, we don't want to throw out these. Look, when it comes to 1/6 scale collecting, I'm not a gatekeeper. We don't gatekeep in this community. We give everybody a chance. So it's always going to be different interpretations, and people will see it totally different. There's no right or wrong way. For me, this is definitive Vader because again, this ends the saga and it gives me everything that I want. Again, it was his ascension back to the light side of the Force by the very end of the film. He sacrificed himself, which brought balance to the Force for his son. And I thought that was definitely very important. Again, which proves that he is and undoubtedly always will be the chosen one. That's just who Vader is. So for me, this is and always will be the definitive version, one that I've wanted in my collection. But does that definitely mean that there's no space for this particular version here, which is the battle damage version's legend? No, because this might be a definitive version for other people. Again, everything is left up to interpretation. It's not going to always be the same for others. Does this mean that this particular version is a definitive version? Again, I think it's always going to be up to the collector. What you're collecting, which Vader speaks more towards your collection and your personality and your lifestyle. That's going to be the definitive version for you. So again, there's no gatekeeping in this community, and on top of that, there's never enough Vader. I think there's always space for insight in this community, always space for people to have their say and speak in terms of what they think is the most important interpretation of Vader for them. So that's my take on it. That's what I basically would want to say for a lot of people. That's how I feel about it. Again, it's going to be left up to your interpretation of what you feel is going to be the best interpretation for you. But again, it's up to you. Don't leave it up to me. It's your choice, not mine. My definitive version of Vader is definitely going to be The Empire Strikes Back. I'm sorry, The Return of the Jedi. I keep mixing them up. Return of the Jedi. Darth Vader. This wins them all for me. This would be my definitive Vader in my collection, regardless of what comes after, because it finally completes the trilogy for me, and I am so excited about this. If they release more Vader figures, am I going to pass them up? Hell no. I'm going to get them every time there's a release of Vader, because I love Darth Vader. I'm always going to be in it for Darth Vader. That's what it is. And that's how it always will be. But again, I leave it up to you, your interpretation on what you think is going to be more so the interpretation for you, because this is definitely the interpretation for me. This is the Vader that I love, I know and love, and I will always have. But I just felt as though it was kind of good to do this particular video because, again, it just sheds light on individuals out there in the collecting community, and it gives you basically this, just a look, and kind of makes you think about what's going to be the most important one for you, because we kind of throw this definitive, word around. So we want to make sure that with that definitive words, look, with power comes great responsibility. But again, our words kind of reign throughout this community. So again, it's to always say there's no right or wrong way when it comes to collecting Vader. Whatever works for you, but whatever works for me, works for me. And that's my take on it. And that's what I'll definitely say about it. Again, thank you guys for coming on board with me today. A brief discussion about what I thought was the definitive version of Vader. And what wins it out for me, of course, is the Return of the Jedi, Darth Vader, for me. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Do me a favor, hit the like button on this video, subscribe, hit that bell notification so you are always up to date to what we actually got going on over here when it comes to videos, live streams, shorts, whatever it might be. I'm here for you guys, like I know you guys are here for me. Thank you for supporting the 1/6 Scale Man YouTube channel as long as you have been. We are on our way almost at 9,000 subscribers, on our way to 10,000 subscribers, and on slow steps, but progression is always there. Peace and love to you guys. I love you guys. Thank you for your full support on this channel each and every week and every time we actually do stuff on here at this channel. Remember, you can also go to merch. We got merch. We got the 1/6 Scale Man merch as far as the shirts. Also Figure Flex Friday. If you don't know, now you know. It's actually in the description as always. But again, thank you so much. Thank you for being a part of this channel each and every week. Love you guys. I will see you again. And it's time. We are out. Till the next time. Peace.